Righto, welcome back to another one. Might be a wee bit noisy, the Bathurst 1000's on today. You'll hear the cars going around. I know I can hear them. That's just part and parcel with living in Bathurst. We've got a few odds and sods to do on the F10 today. Little bits and pieces, you know. We'll get there. I've been slowly gathering parts up. Still waiting on a few things. Haven't had a chance to get to my mate's house to grab the tail shafts I need to do the end swaps. There's still a bit of stuff I've got to do. Also picked up this. So that'll go on my telebrain. That little light thing's pretty fancy too. It's a road vlogger kit, whatever. So that should just hopefully stop the audio jumping around so much when I'm going from the 700D to the telephone for the close-up shots, because that thing's a wee bit hard to lug around and point into stuff. So that should make it a little bit easier. But yeah, we'll fly into the F10. I'll have a bit more of a yarn on what's been going on anyway, because I've been pretty busy and some other stuff's been going on. So we'll catch you after the intro. We'll pop a squat and have a fucking talk, I suppose. Yeah. We're going to put some Daihatsu back in the Daihatsu. Alright, so, bit's been going on. Pretty much haven't had a 3 minute to sit down, but you get that. So I've just been stockpiling parts. So I finally got to my brother's house and drug my patrol home. I'll take you for a bit of a walk around on that. I was planning to do, well, I'll be doing videos on that. I'm putting that back together. And then the Fairlane decided to do this, because this thing just dumped its guts out of the torque converter. Fuck me, it's still dribbling. Oh my god. Fuck it up. That's fucking rowdy. Only just got it back into town. Yeah, so I'm gathering parts to do a C4 auto trans rebuild. I've got most of it turned up. I'm waiting on a torque converter, some auto transmission assembly grease, because you can't use normal assembly grease, it doesn't dissolve. The ATF assembly grease is ATF based, so it dissolves in the oil. And I bought a manual to rebuild it, but I've lost count how many YouTube videos I've watched on how to rebuild a C4. I could probably do one in my sleep, but I figured I'd grab a manual anyway. It was like 50 bucks. Can't hurt. So I'll grab me bloody little V-logger kit over there, and I'll take you for a quick walk around the patrol and show you what's going on with that, and then we'll bust into this. Yeah, I've been doing a little bits and odds and sods while I haven't been filming, as you do, while I've got a free 10 minutes. But yeah, a bit of stuff's turned up for this. I'm not sure if I've already had a spiel about it. I might have said something on my social medias. But yeah, I'll show you the patrol. Alright, here's my patrol. It is a 97, so it's the very first of the GUs, that's why it's gold. I got it off my brother. He said he wanted something unbreakable, so he bought the weakest version of the Nissan Patrol you could get. It was TB45 Auto, and he bought it off a bloke that had towed like a 20-foot boat with it all the time without an auto trans upgrade or external oil cooler. So it ended up giving him nothing but issues. So I built and swapped him an F65 Scat for this, and he's happy as Larry. It's having a couple of little issues. We'll sort that out in later videos. Yeah, and then I ended up with this bucket. The idea was it was going to be a tow car, and then I took a bush and the guy steered me towards a really big rock and I caved the ceiling, so you get that. 4-inch lift, 35 is the usual fruit. It doesn't look like a 97 because I've done a Series 5 swap, so that was cut the quarters, fit the tail lights, the big flares. I've got the rest of the flares for the doors. I've got ones for the guards as well. This guy got damaged. I was towing felled trees during a storm, and another one fell on top of it. So I've got another guard, and I've got to find a saddle because it TB45 is not in there anymore, and it's really dirty because it's been stuck in my brother's house for like 3 years. Thanks, Corona. I turboed the TB45. I really recommend it. It was awesome. I love driving it every day. So it was petrol LPG, and obviously TB45 uses the exact same exhaust manifold, and I already had a turbo kit for a diesel. So I put everything on it. It was great for almost 12 months. I used the cheap external wastegate, and that failed. It hit about 30 pounds of boost and then melted a piston. So I had the diesel, the TD42, sitting there at my brother's house out of another car, one of my old patrols. So I decided to drop that in it, but I've kept it auto. So it's TD42 auto. She's a bloody mobile parts wagon at the moment. I'm not sure if I talked about these in the last video or not, but the rear springs in my one are pretty badly damaged. You can sort of see, you see the wrap at the eye there. Now I can reset that, but it's probably just going to break off again or rebend there because the leaf spring doesn't come up to the eye. So I looked everywhere. Believe me when I say everywhere, it's very difficult to find springs for Daihatsus. These are from Lovells. They are legitimately the last ones in Australia. They come out of the back of a warehouse in Newcastle. Great bunch of dudes there at Lovells. They searched for about a week to find me something. They can make them. They do still have the specs for the wagons and the utes, petrol or diesel. They said it'd be about a 6 to 9 month lead time. So that's all right. My fronts are still good. So I only really needed the rears, and that's what they had on the shelf, which was great. They turned up. They ended up being about $500 with shipping, but that's all right. I could have made a spring pack. I've got a few loose ones laying around with busted other parts on them, so I could have got a main leaf out of one and some helper leaves out of the other. But brand new springs, just put them in. Yeah. So I might look at that. I've got to dig through my bag of tricks to see if I've got enough shackle bushes. The ones in this look alright, but if I do find a dead one, I'll have to replace it. You can't find natural rubber bushes for scats anymore. They do not do them. Toyota's nowhere near. The closest is Suzuki, but the chassis side of the shackle mount is a different size. So you buy a Suzuki kit and you can only use half of it. So they do the Nolthane replacements. I'm not a big fan of Nolthane bushes. I've found they tend to crack when you start using them a fair bit off-road. Crack and then split and all that fun stuff, so I tend to stick to natural rubber. So I've got an abundance of them sort of laying around out of cars I've pulled apart and whatnot. So alright, you're going to have 4 12mm bolts under here. All the way up there. Cool. See if we can jiggle this thing out. Well, they got it in, so it's got to come out. I bet they slid it to the side, and to do that I'm going to have to pull that ashtray out. Great. Snake. Yeah, fun. Sweet. There you go. One Daihatsu heater box. Isn't it great? There ain't much left of the heater tap. I can see that, it's just sort of non-existent. I don't know whether I'm going to keep and reuse this one, or I've got like 3 in the shed. I might put one of them in, I don't know. We'll see, that's a task for a later job. Now we've got that out, we can start looking at that really big hole in the floor and get unmotivated and move on to another job. Alright, now that's out of there, we can sort of see what's going on. Pretty big hole, that's all good. But one minor issue is I was planning to run the transfer case stick out that hole, which is fine, but here's the 3K or the Rolls Auto Surround, and if I push it about where it's got to sit, it covers that up. So, looks like I'll be plating that, and I've just had a rough hand feel measurement. This depression here is a section they cut out in the factory if you ordered the PTO drive winch. That's directly in line with where the shifter is. It's just about, I don't know, 2 inches back. So I guess we'll put the transfer case high-low stick there. We'll plate that, plate the other one, and sender. Now the auto shifter obviously is a linkage base, because they're all linkage based. Where the tunnel is a different shape to the Corolla, the tunnel in the Corolla was a lot closer to the gearbox. So the gearbox linkage setup on it doesn't work anymore. It's nowhere near lined up. To get it to even possibly work, the shifter would have to be up underneath the dash. So I'm going to have to convert it all to cable, which is mildly annoying, but what do you do? It's the way she goes. But now that I know I can't use either of them holes, maybe I'll just section that entire gearbox manual stick hole out and just weld a new sheet in. Just cut it all the way up to there and just bang, jam one in there. Maybe. That might be, I might have to have a think about that. So while that's digesting, I've got another job I need to do. So let's do that one, and I'll leave this one for. Okay, so that is the driver's side mirror stall. The mirrors that are on it were dead, so they're gone now. These are pretty much identical replacements, 4-inch round, just motorcycle mirrors. They're a pin mount, which is what I need. So that mount bolts off the back of the mirror, and it's supposed to slide on behind that ball where that little recess is. It doesn't. The neck on this is a bit thicker. I'm not going to grind the neck, fuck that, that's original stuff. So I'm just going to open up that V just a smidge down the bottom there. So she slides on, it's only a couple of mil in it. I'll just do it with a file. I think there's a stainless steel by the looks of it. They're probably chrome now, I like, but whatever. I like patina. Look at the rest of my fleet, they're all rusty. So I'll do that, we'll fit her up. One of them's missing the rubber isolator gasket underneath, so I'll cut another one of them up. Don't particularly need to, but I will. And yeah, that'll be another job off the list. Well, I did say it's going to be little jobs, this one. They're a little alright. Alright. That wasn't too hard. Couple of rubs with the file, straight on. Nice little mirror. Go there. Oof. She's looking factory already. Now the chrome steel ones, or stainless steel ones that were originally on this, they were very early only. They were 74, 75 only. After that they went to a plastic one. My first car, my 77, had plastic ones on it, and there was nothing left of them. They just eroded away. So I pretty much done the same thing to that, but I used big square ones. I was learning to drive at the time, so I needed as much mirror as I could get. So now I'll do the other one, and I've got a little bit of surface rust, just like tinge of the paint down here. I'll hit that with a bit of Scotch-Brite, we'll fit them up and we'll be good to go. Okay, so I've got some light staining, rust staining down the bottom here, which I won't be able to reach once the indicator's back in. So a bit of Scotch-Brite and a bit of degrees. Just give it a quick rub. Do that to both sides, and that'll be good to go. Now I don't want to rub it too hard because I'll take the paint off. Doesn't that look so much better? Once this car's actually done, I'll probably end up polishing the entire fucking thing and bring a bit of shine back up onto it. But the paint's not too bad where it's still got paint. Look at that. So much better. No more rust stains. I might give it a little bit more down there. But you might be able to see now with that off what I was talking about with the spring. See there? It's got the wrap right there at the tip of that second leaf. Pretty bad. So that's what I was saying, if I get them reset, it's just going to bend there again. the centre pin in them is in the middle of the spring, so I could flip it, but even this side's got a bit of wrap on it as well. So the driver's side is worse than the passenger side, so that's why I just opted to try and find new springs. So like I said, I do have enough laying around. I could probably make a pair if I need to, but get them new, put them in. I haven't got shocks yet. I'm sourcing them. I've got like the entire Munro shock catalogue with all the eyes and stroke lengths and fully collapsed lengths. These use a bit of a weird one, 2 different lengths front to rear with the same eye, but fully collapsed it's like 11 inches in the front and 12 in the rear or something like that from memory. So they're a very short shock. Makes it hard to find, and if you get them specific for Daihatsu, they're like $140 a shock, which I ain't down for that jam. But check this out. There's a little Hilux case. I clocked it up the perfect amount. Like there's 5mm of clearance to that. And that's where it's going to sit. I think it's got to go a little bit over to the passenger side. I haven't bothered bolting the gearbox to the cross member. I just left it because I'll have to no doubt pull stuff out of this non-stop. So I'll go grab some tools out of the shed. We'll bust these springs out of this rig jigger, and then yeah, we'll have a go at it. Alright, pulling the suspension out, got the shocks out. I don't know if you can see that. Oh, yeah, you can see it like that. These are the original shocks, and they're a KYB. That's the part number. I'll have a ring up Toyota and see if they can get me a new set. Fuck no. That's funny as. They are pretty good. They've got lots of rebound, but no bound. You can pull them out super easy. So, new shocks it is. I just thought it was nifty that they're still the original shocks. You can actually see on one of the bushes, the bloody rabbits have been into it, nibbling the edges of it. Cheeky little buggers. Oh, enough with the shenanigans. I'll get these springs out. There we go. Just look how flat those springs are. You can see the difference. Line the centre pin up to the centre pin. Yeah. Pretty rooted. And I've got some good bushes and some shit bushes. So now I'm going to go digging. And we'll find a few bushes. Good thing to note, when you're pulling suspension out of a sprung under vehicle, jack the chassis up as well as the diff, because I didn't, and the corner of that guard hit me in the fucking head, so that probably could have went a lot worse. Luckily it only had like 4 inches until it hit the bump stop, so I'll jack the chassis up on the other side, but you know it's like, a bit rip tear bust. Just want to get her in, get her done, start forgetting the little stuff. Right, I'll go have a dig for some bushes. We get this spring in. I want to do a side at a time, get some height comparisons. There's the springs in. Still got a saddle. I jumped on it a bit, but look at that shackling straight up and down. There's just no weight in the back of it at the moment. It needs to be driven. I don't know if you can sort of see that. It's really, really arse high. That's to be expected. Both shackles are pretty much vertical. So, yeah. At least those springs are a wee bit safer. nipped all the bolts up once it had weight back on it. Tried yanking on. Sometimes you can jam a crowbar in the shackle there and yank on it as it gets bound up in the rubber. I've done that to both sides, it didn't do anything. So it's literally just because they're brand new springs. So because the Fairlane's out of action, I need these jack stands. These wheels have got some slow leaks in them because they just need to be driven on. They're just old and hard. So I'll go dig out the 35s off Sarge and bolt them on this so I can get the jack stands back out from under it, and we'll have a look at it with 35s on it because that's going to look fucking sick. Yep. Oh baby, that's a fucking vibe and a half. Oof. My Lanta. Oh Jesus, that's looking good. Unfortunately there's no clearance, but there's a height difference. So these, they're going to be on it obviously. They're a 7.5-16, and these, they're the wheels off a Sarge. They are a Maxxis Trepador 35 12.5 on a dynamic steel 15x8 Sunraiser. I got 6 of them because they're directional and I had money back then. At the moment they're the only probably 5 on 139.7 wheels that I have that hold air that aren't on vehicles that need them. So these will sit on here for a little while. Every time I bolt them on here, it gives me nothing but like really dumb ideas. I could just lift that guard out. Bam! Front and back. Oof. Jeez, boy. I can't look at it even. I'll go get the grinder. Christ. That neck 25 just hits different. It's actually the same wheels that I put on my brother's F65. Long story there. The ex-wife had a Vitara. I was buying wheels for Sarge. She wanted to have matchy wheels, so I ended up buying like 11. And because I bought 11, I got them for like $50 a rim or something, direct off Dynamic, which was fucking great. So I had a set of 5 just hanging around because I got rid of her and the Vitara, which was the best idea I've done on both accounts. Adam needed wheels, and they were sitting in the shed, had been for like 7 years or something. I said, just take them. So he's put 35 like Mud Claws or some Chinese brand bloody 35s on them. They were like $110 a tyre. They've got pictures of tigers on the sidewall. They're fucking hilarious. But okay, she's all greased up. What you can see there is a bit of aviation sealant. If you're not going to use the original gasket because they always tear, and you are going to silicone, I find putting it on the hub first rather than the actual axle works out better, because as I found out when I pulled this one off, you put it on there, it squelches in and then it winds into the bearing, so I had to pull this fucking whole thing apart. So I've put it on, I've already test fit it. I put it on and then it's going to push up against that lip, and see how it didn't go over the top of the lip so it doesn't get into your bearing. So put it on the hub and it works out way better. Rattle this on. I'm going to need one of these bolts to pull the CV out because they have a tendency to slide in. This was missing all of the bolts bar that one. So if you've got a diatip, probably a good idea to check your hub bolts. Though you lose the ones in the cap and the base bolts all the time. That one might be a bit short, is it? No, it's right. Now comes the fun part of trying to put this circlip. It's those gay ass Toyota ones, and I forgot to buy the correct circlip pliers when I was at work there yesterday. That's alright, we'll see how we go. Now that I'm all covered in grease and shit. There we go. Now, there's a thread in the end of the CV, so you can pull that out. Just walk that circlip down. There we go. Alright, that's that part. Now I might jam just a wee bit more grease in there while it's on. This one actually had water get into it, so I had to do a fair bit of clean up on it and make it so it was a viable hub again. I'm no doubt going to change them when I part my other Daihatsu out when I get a chance. Alright, wipe that face off. And same thing again, I'm going to put it on the hub cap rather than that. You don't need much. This is actually an aviation sealant. So it's got a really good film strength, so it stretches very well. There we go, teeth are all lined up. Now the one thing you have to be mindful, that little, see that tab there, I don't know if you can, there is these two positions. So you can only go on those two because they've been cut deeper to give you clearance for that little tab for the lock and hub. So it should slide on just like that. And I've only got 4 of these bolts because it's missing one, of course it is. Come on, get off. I'll go and wreck one out of my part stiff over there. The other, I don't remember, the passenger side was missing the hub altogether, so I've already taken the whole hub off of it. So I've got another one over there, I'll just get that last bolt before. It's a bit stiff. There we go. Lock, unlock. Perfect. I don't know if you can hear if the microphone's picking that up, but you can actually hear the locking gear in there moving back and forth. So one more job off the list. Yeah, I'll go and grab that. Alright, that'll do it for this episode, I think. I also clearance the sump for the diff and forgot to film it. I did have a little bit of issues getting the oil and that out of it so I could weld it, but I got creative. That ought to get the oil out of it. Yeah, so as I said, this one was going to be odds and sods, and odds and sods it was. So a few bits and pieces done. Hopefully next time we'll be doing something more meaningful. Probably not. I don't know. We'll see how we go. We're coming up to Christmas. It's getting harder and harder to get parts, unfortunately. But we'll see how we go. That's for sure. This thing's pert near done. Needs a fuel tank. The floor's done. Tail shafts. That's it. Oh, and I've got to do a bit of sewing on the seats. That'll take me like 20 minutes. So, hopefully I'll have this thing running by next year. But, anyway, you'll have to catch that all on the next episode coming up. Might be on this one. Might be on the F25 Sarge. Could be on the Patrol. Probably on the Fairlane. That thing needs a gearbox rebuild. We'll see. Well, kept her upside down.